Preussen vs. Invaders Episode 4. That Saturday, Preussen wanted to take the remaining bases between the rivers, and Invaders had assembled their entire defense there to prevent just that. In doing so, Preussen was under time pressure, because the highway would be opened that Saturday evening, and by then Preussen wanted to be in as good a position as possible. As long as the highway was closed, Preussen had been able to develop well on map 1950. But everyone knew that Invaders had groups on 100 other maps just waiting to intervene in this battle. When attacking an Invaders base, their defense tactics were very cautious. Obviously, Invaders didn't want to lose all the defense troops again. On the other hand, these troops only help if you use them. Torn between these two poles, Invaders acted very hesitantly. This allowed Preussen to capture another base. After that, it was a mutual provocation. The Invaders' defense paused between two bases, waiting for Preussen to come, only to be caught in the crossfire of both bases. Preussen could not just sit this out. Everything would have to be cleared up by evening, so Preussen had to take the initiative. Chamu sent 6 groups of T-34C to a strategic position northeast of the enemy defense forces, and Aiolos then came with M16s as cannon fodder. Just as the Invaders' staff fired on the M60s, they became targets of the numerous T-34Cs. This allowed the entire Invaders' staff to be taken out of play, with the only minor loss of 6 groups of M60s. Then, when the highway was open in the evening, Invaders' troops in the far south tried to gain access to the highway, but Preussen had already taken precautions here since the morning. Whenever a home base happened to spawn at the bottom, the player was asked to start a 15-hour production acceleration in it, so that the base would stay down there. So the battle along the southern highway took place under the protection of the Preussen home bases. This made it difficult for Invaders. Enrico issued orders to play ping-pong with the Invaders. Shown here is ping. It is attacking an Invaders base on the lower right edge. This was then to be followed by pong. It is an attack on the lower left edge. This made it harder for Invaders to prepare optimally for the next blow. For Preussen, it was always only a short way to bring the supplies from the lower highway to the respective attacked base. Thus, Preussen always had more material on the scene than the enemy. Consider that Invaders had to haul in all material from the right highway. This not only ate enormous fuel, but also took time. As long as troops are only driving, they are missing in action. As a result, it always seemed as if Preussen was clearly outnumbering Invaders. what looks like a counterattack of the invaders on a base of Preußen, in retrospect I judge rather as a necessity to take breeders, it is attack troops, from the group limit in order to be able to fetch more defense troops from other maps. All train bases were in the hands of invaders, and soon Preußen would have to cross the rail line. Initial reconnaissance attacks made it clear that invaders had built an enormous number of trains, not just the ones visible here. Then came Pong. That is the attack on the lower left side. Now the way for enemy defense troops was even longer, and the enemy groups were all on the lower right. A few R4 helicopters came, but that was really harmless compared to earlier defenses. Preußen Spitfires quickly took care of that. When then some Willys wanted to disturb, the R4 helicopters of Preußen came. Now invaders probably thought that this was the ideal time to use their R4s again as well. In the end, it was a total loss of the Willys and the R4 helicopters. Here you can also see Enrico's favorite base attack units, the SP6. They do tremendous damage for a short time with their ammo. After that they are cannon fodder and can take a decent amount of damage. If you have more than 200 fully developed bases on a map, you can build SP6 in a loop. If their production costs nothing, it is not worth refilling. Immediately we move on to the next base. Preußen used the time advantage, which was caused by the fact that the attack troops of Preußen coming from the highway were immediately at the attack base. The invaders' troops had the long way to go and therefore were not there yet. As a result, this attack was without any interference from invaders. As you can see, I took the base. Thus, Preußen came closer and closer to the railroad. First smaller skirmishes already took place with the trains, and invaders was obviously counting on the fact that this defense line would be difficult to overcome. As you can see here in the video, invaders permanently had 23 groups on the Eastern Highway in order not to lose this important supply route. The units and also the group limit tied up by them were of course missing in action. Thus, base on base fell that Saturday night. The group limit of the invaders players became smaller and smaller. That of the Preußen players larger and larger. Every base taken was a step forward to great success. Preußen's mood was very good at this point, and everyone now was optimistic. The respect for the opening of the highway was huge beforehand, but thanks to Enrico's ingenious tactics, invaders were not able to use their numerical superiority, sending material from 100 other maps. At the next base there was again some opposition, but nothing that could have scared Preußen. A few Nashorn and later some FL-265 do not stop a well-protected attack. From the ongoing production and rebuilding of a defense turret, you can see that invaders still wanted to fight back. Only they no longer succeeded in scoring an effective hit, and base after base fell. However, these were all bases in the south, with a short distance to the highway for Preußen and with a distance to the railroad line with the many trains of invaders. As the advance further north continued, the supply routes for Preußen would become longer and longer, and quite obviously Invaders was banking on the impregnability of the railway. So again, this Saturday ended in uncertainty. Would Preußen succeed in advancing further north and take Invaders' first train bases? This and more will be seen in part 5 about the Sunday of the attack.